Okay, if you all hear a strange mechanical noise in the background, it's because I'm doing laundry. Adult life, am I right? Throwing spinels in the wash and leaving them there for 6,000 years. Is that too soon? I feel like that's too soon. When Steven Universe the movie was announced, I was skeptical. I love the show, and as time has gone on and I've had more time to consider and process it, I truly do love Change Your Mind. It was the perfect way to wrap up the series with strong emotional beats and phenomenal animation, specifically thanks to former Disney animator James Baxter joining the team and handling this one scene we all agree looks absolutely stunning. But the reason I was skeptical of the movie was precisely because of how well Change Your Mind wrapped everything up. I wasn't really sure how anything, whether it be newer seasons or a movie, could top what we got. And while I don't think this is better than Change Your Mind, it doesn't really need to be. This movie is essentially an epilogue to the series. It is a summation of what the show has always been about, seeing the good in people, growing as a person through hardships, and singing about both of those things to some damn bops, as to serve as a love letter to fans before the show heads off into that good night. Well, this is all supposing Change Your Mind was in fact the series finale and that there won't be future seasons, which I wouldn't be mad about. I'd be all up for a time skip series similar to Ben 10 Alien Force or Ultimate Alien, where we get to see an older Steven and Connie going through new struggles and adventures now that Homeworld's political structure has been reformed. Perhaps seeing more of the Diamonds struggle with adjusting to this new way of living and atoning for their deeds, or perhaps a First Order type enemy which tries to reinstate the dictatorship of the Diamond Authority, the latter of which I'll touch on in a little while because it is connected to what I was expecting from the movie's villain versus what we actually got. Don't worry, I love Spinel. I got nothing bad to say about her. So before I go on, I'm just gonna say, spoilers beware. If you have not seen the movie, go watch it and then come back afterwards. If you don't care, well, honestly, in that case, I'm not sure why you're here to begin with, but thank you for the watch time and AdSense, my friend. First, we'll start with the core of the movie, which is to capture the essence of Steven Universe in 90 minutes. And the story primarily does this through the use of Spinel's Rejuvenator. Once hit with one of these scythes, a gem is basically given a factory reset, meaning any and all personality or ideology they might have developed is sealed away, and they're essentially returned to the moment they were first created. This is actually a pretty clever way to go through everyone's character arcs in a new, more condensed way, and it works well for, well, there is one gem whose execution is kinda iffy, and sadly it's the first gem to reform, Amethyst. The reason I say this is because Amethyst's arc was all about learning to love herself in spite of being considered by the Diamond Authority as Jasper put it, defective. That in fact, she was perfect the way she was, and should be proud of how far she's come while remaining herself. Now the reason it still kinda works is that Amethyst appears similar to how she did when she first emerged from the abandoned kindergarten, and so it's accurate to her behavior in that young, lost state. But while I do wish we got to see more of her struggle in accepting herself as she is, you could honestly argue that this struggle being absent is actually a good thing. That without the Diamond Authority, or even the perspectives of the other gems, making her believe that she was to be considered defective, she would naturally be perfectly content with how she formed to begin with. There would be no outside force to make her hate herself. At least, that's the perspective I like to hold about Amethyst Arc in the movie, but admittedly, it still doesn't resonate with me as much as the others. Perhaps that's because disability is not a struggle I've had to face, and so my perspective doesn't really lend itself to appreciating Amethyst's story here, but I'll give the movie the benefit of the doubt. I do wish Jasper got tied into Amethyst's story, but we'll discuss that in a little while. Pearl's arc fares much better, not only because her serving Greg juxtaposed with her despising Greg for so long in the sweetest of ironies, but also because the movie reinforces that Pearl's arc is not about being in love with Pink or Rose, but rather losing that illusion of unreciprocated love and having to stand on her own 2 feet and come into her own as a result. Pearl's story is not about learning to devote herself to anyone else, but learning to devote her efforts to herself. To find her own cause and reasons for fighting, and doing everything she can for the people who genuinely do love her and appreciate her instead of using her like a tool. Which, thank God, because if they had gone with the straight up romance angle, lord, that is fucked up and problematic. And I don't think it's difficult to see why. Actually, given how the Nazis have been making a comeback in the last couple years, I ain't even touching that. Having slave owners fall in love with their slaves is fucked up, y'all. Please realize that and either shape the story and themes around it, being a parasitic and heavily power imbalanced relationship, or just don't. Garnets Arc, meanwhile, translates rather well into the film. We have a nice moment where instead of Ruby saving Sapphire, resulting in their first fusion, Sapphire instead saves Ruby here, showing that they do in fact care for each other on a deeper level than one might initially perceive. But that love between them, like Pearl's love for Rose except, healthy, is not the true missing piece of Garnet's character arc. At least, not just romantic love at first sight, or even specifically romantic love, but the truth about love, pain, shame, and acceptance, and how all these things connect us. Specific lyrics like, when a difficult day goes by, keeping it together is hard, but that's why you've got to try, and especially in the middle of fear and shame, everyone's looking for someone to blame. Like it's a game, I am better than win or lose, there's a new direction that I like to choose, it's called the truth. Really hammer down how pain and anger, even when righteous, can blind us to the things that truly matter, the people who do love and care about us. Garnet's greatest strength, encapsulated by everyone's favorite song Stronger Than You, is that she literally is the incarnation of love, the ability to care about another person as much as yourself, and to have that person return that love in earnest, and using that to become better, stronger people to stand up for what you believe in, and the people you love. It's a nice contrast against Spinel's anger and blame, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. But perhaps the strongest arc in the movie is Steven's, where he pieces together that it's not the pain and hardships that he's endured that made him into the person he is now, but how he changed as a result and chose to show compassion towards his enemies rather than hatred and spite. Going through horrible things is not a requirement to become a stronger person. In fact, it can mold you into a terrible monster if you're not careful. But rather, it's the perspective and understanding that you gain and actively push for, often a result of these horrible circumstances, that truly strengthen and define you. Now, the true heart of the movie, or at least the heart that's set to
Wumbo-wing. I wonder if a fall from this height would be enough to kill me.
Lies in its central antagonist, Spinel. The 1930s stretchy cartoon character who raided XJ9's closet, fused Marluxia and Ruby Rose's scythes, and stands Harlequin to an honestly terrifying but incredibly relatable degree. Now, we all know the Diamonds are horrible people, including Pink. Even after wanting to protect the Earth and donning the mantle of Crystal Gem Rebellion leader Rose Quartz, Pink never quite fully understood the lives of others, especially humans. She never spoke to Pearl about how she felt while she flirted with Greg. She was kind of weirdly obsessed with humans and viewed them almost as toys, to which Greg promptly called her out. And in the case of Bismuth, yeah, she really just should have said that she was Pink and not thrown people into eternal prisons to keep that a secret. Even after becoming Rose Quartz, Pink's biggest problem is that she wanted to do good, but never fully understood the perspectives of the people she fought for or alongside. And so by creating Steven, rather than throwing away her problems onto someone else, instead she created a life form that would understand the mortality of humans on their level, a level that Pink could never reach herself, but would also have Rose's abilities in order to protect the Earth, should the Diamonds ever return. But arguably Pink's greatest folly is something she did before she even truly learned or tried to change. Abandoning Spinel, an actual person that she and the Diamonds viewed as nothing more than a source of superficial entertainment, on an asteroid for 6,000 years, leaving her to just stand alone waiting. That is just cruel. But while Spinels Fury is justified, she misdirects it to the people who weren't even responsible for what happened to her. When we go through these kinds of hardships, when people may hurt, manipulate, or just leave us, it can take us into very dark places where we revel in the fantasy of petty vengeance. Instead of wanting justice, we want payback. And in the process of pursuing that payback, we risk becoming the monster who wronged us. Now, I'm not trying to sound all hippy-dippy, let's just all hug it out with the murderers and dictators, but compassion and empathy are incredibly valuable, and Steven Universe is unrelenting in that theme, which I have to commend it for. Especially when we're caught in the middle of pain and it's hard to reorient our perspectives and fully understand just what we're doing or why we're doing it. Compassion, vulnerability, and empathy are the tools that can lead us out of that darkness. And that is ultimately Spinel's journey, realizing why she's trying to hurt innocent people, stopping herself before it's too late, and then finding a new place where she'll be loved and appreciated for who she is, and she'll finally be able to move on from the horrible things that have happened to her. Not to mention her arc is pretty much communicated through the artwork itself. I mean, her gem is literally an upside down heart because of her heartbreak, and the top of her injector is a heart. You know, like Steven's trying to reach out to her and is metaphorically entering her heart. And it's also the battle within Spinel's own heart, as it literally shatters when she hits her breaking point, forcing herself to piece it back together so she can start over. Symbolism. So yeah, Spinel is my favorite part of the movie easily, and I'm kinda happy that it's sorta tied in with the diamonds. Kinda. I was bitter that the diamonds were absent from most of the movie, especially considering it would be interesting to see them reconcile with their atrocities, but then I realized we don't really need that. Let them deal with their shit on their own while we give a guiding hand from a very safe and healthy distance. But now with Spinel around, perhaps it'll start a new chapter for both her and the diamonds, and make them realize how poor their communication with each other has been for eons, and how this is the chance for them to better themselves. Oh, also, White Diamond is an overdramatic, disapproving, but still loving mom, and I fucking love it so much.
Since the Earth is so disgusting.
God bless. My one big critique of the movie actually kind of ties into my nitpicks of Amethyst's character arc, which is the lack of Jasper. The only bit of the movie she's actually in is the artwork of all the villains Steven has faced, and nothing else. It's quite strange, given practically all the villains have been redeemed and gotten their own arcs. You know, aside from Marty. Fuck Marty, am I right? Specifically with Amethyst always referring to Jasper as sis, it would have been nice to see Jasper's turnaround over the time skip as she helps Amethyst fully reform. And the big point in that is her finally accepting Amethyst as she is and calling her little sis. Oh, that would have been so nice, and I'm honestly not sure why Jasper is absent from the movie. But who knows? It doesn't kill the movie at all, it's just an additional thing that would have been nice, but ultimately is not vital. Now, on a technical aspect, this movie slaps. The animation is gorgeous and far more fluid than anything we're used to, especially on Spinel. Presumably because, you know, movie budget. Cinematography, likewise, is a huge improvement from the series, specifically in the shots of Steven and Spinel atop the injector, the glimpses of the ruined beach city, and definitely Steven and the other crystal gems as they reminisce over their journeys. Not to mention the colors are far stronger this time around. Everything is vibrant and filled with life, especially when it comes to the biopoison of Spinel's injector. The black of the dying earth contrasted against these bright neon pinks are absolutely gorgeous, and low-key symbolism for Pink Diamond's past actions coming back to kill us all. But I digress, pretty colors all around. And of course, the music is amazing as always. Every song is great and gets you even further invested in the story and characters. My personal favorites are Other Friends, because I'm just a sucker for damn good villain songs, especially when they have that Disney flair. True Kinda Love, because I love to cry happy tears. And Change, because God bless Zach Callison's voice. Now, I'm not an expert on sound design, but I do appreciate the hard work that often goes into it. So naturally, when I found this tweet about how the movie was actually mixed in 5.1 surround sound, meaning you can actually separate the characters' voices from the music, I dig this shit. Fuck yes. So all in all, I was pleasantly surprised by and quickly fell in love with Steven Universe the movie. If this is the end of the franchise, it is a wonderful, almost nostalgic note to go out on, and if there is more to come, it's still a fantastic story in its own right, capturing the heart of the show's first half while ramping up the tensions a bit for whatever the future has in store. And whatever Rebecca Sugar is planning, be it more Steven Universe or another project, I am definitely looking forward to it, and I will be forever grateful for the story that she and the Crooniverse have shared with us in the past few years. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, then I think you might like my other more produced content, such as my reviews and video essays on animation, particularly Ruby, or my documentary series on the complicated and weird history of the Winx Club franchise. And if you like what you find, then remember to subscribe to the channel and ring that bell for notifications because YouTube hates creators. If you'd like to further support myself and the channel, then please consider, if you are able to, pledging your support over on Patreon. I'm currently saving up for ISBNs as well as to commission my novel's book cover and interior format before the end of the year, so any kind of support is very much appreciated. Fair warning though, there is a private Discord server called the Asshole Parade that certain tiers give you access to, but the bot has been very finicky and having issues in automatically inviting people, so if you have any issues, please message me privately and I will get you in as quickly as possible. And speaking of my book, I am currently hard at work at one final round of revisions before a final proofread. It has been delayed many times due to outside circumstances, but I am determined to publish in 2020 so that all of you can finally enjoy it. It's called Diseneribus from the Ashes, and if you would like to learn more about it, you can check out the synopsis on the Goodreads page, as well as the first chapter in the description below. Please keep in mind these are from earlier drafts, so everything is subject to further revising and change. The first chapter especially got a major glow up in the last round of revisions, and I am planning to release it and some of the other chapters as soon as I can once the book cover stuff is underway. I'm the Unicorn of War. Thank you for your time, and this has been a shit show.
Well, sometimes you need that special someone to remind you that you're so much more.